eventually people are going to say, what the hell is going on?
No matter how far you go into the dark, when you flip, you go exactly the same place to the light in our galaxy. Everything. Because everything is in balance. Everything is a polarity.
I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is.
What the hell is going on, everybody? How are we all? Thank you for being here. I'm really excited for today's show, by the way, because this is something I've been wanting to do for a long time, and because this is lore. This is Polarity lore, okay? I know you guys love the intro song. I love it too. Shout out to Contra. Sick track. And the reason why I call it the Polarity mix is because, let me just be real, it's Contra's song. He can take all the credit for it. But the song didn't have the samples in it. That's the Polarity mix, okay? That was my little spice that we kind of worked together on, and he made it happen. So part of those samples is you hear Alex Collier, who we're going to be looking at today, say, no matter how far you go into the dark, when you flip, you go exactly the same place into the light. And he also basically talks about polarity. That's him. That's who we're looking at today, and it's from this speech. So this is critical lore that we all need to make sure we're across. So I'm really excited to get into this one today. It's about this is going to be a two-part thing, okay? So his lecture was like just under 2 hours. So we've split it up. We're going to do part one tonight. I don't know if we'll do part one tomorrow. Part two. But we'll definitely do part two. We might do it tomorrow, but if we don't, it'll be this week, 100%. But I've got a few other things that I want to do this week as well. So we'll see what happens. Adam Howes says, when is the Polarity mix going to be on Spotify? You would have to ask Contra that one. Well, like I said, he helped me out with one of his tracks, and we kind of, collaborated on making just like an intro, because that's all I wanted. I just wanted an intro. And he made me a few versions of that, which was awesome. But, I don't think he can put an intro on his Spotify. It would need to be a full track. Now, maybe one day your boy could fly to Sydney and we could do a little collab and we could make it happen. But, that's up to him. That's up to him. Maybe if you guys all peer pressured him to do it, maybe we could make it happen. I don't know. I'm not going to advocate for that. But if you guys were to, consistently DM him and say, hey, you should collab with Polarity, then maybe we can make it happen. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. So let's jump over here, because like I said, it's going to be a longer show today, and we don't want it to drag on for too long. But for anyone who doesn't know, Alex Collier is someone who claims to be an Andromedan contactee. And basically, he's given lectures for a long time. The one that we're going to be looking at today is, I believe, mid-90s. I don't know the exact year. I'm going to say between 94 and 96, if I had to guess. But he just has some amazing stuff. Now, obviously, we're talking about someone who's claiming to be an Andromedan contactee. I'm sure there's already someone covering their keyboard in Dorito cheese, because just that concept would be so foreign and paradigm breaking for them that it would upset them. I know. It's okay. All right. Today, we're just going to, I think, let's just put that aside and listen to what the man has to say, because, it's the same way how I feel about Bashar. A lot of people have a lot of problems with channeling and the fact that he's channeling an alien called Bashar. Put that aside. The things that Bashar says about, how to live a life of fulfillment, that shit works, okay? That's real. So, forget the stuff that's maybe a bit too woo for you and just listen to what Alex Collier has to say, because I think, for the most part, he makes a lot of sense. And that's why I'm excited to watch this with you guys, especially if there's anyone who hasn't seen it. Bifta has spilt his Doritos, sir. I'll give you a minute to pick them up, and then please quietly retake your seat. Rambro has gifted a membership. Absolute legend, Rambro. Thank you, brother. I appreciate the support. If you're the lucky one who got it, make sure you use your manners and say thank you. And Maxime Spinard is our latest weirdo. Maxime, you little freak, welcome. Let's get some love in the chat for Maxime, for our new gifted membership as well. And I think that's formalities done and out the way. I guess if anyone doesn't know, the merch store is up as well. Go and check out the merch. Wear the weirdo merch loud and proud. Show everyone that you're an absolute freak. And Gromank is celebrating 1 month as a member. Well done. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate the support. And we have no plans to stop anytime soon. Definitely not. All right, so we're going to get straight into it. Here we go. Alex Collier, part 1. This is Polarity Lore. Listen up.
How many of you know of the Pleiadians and are familiar with at least some of the basic extraterrestrial information? Raise your hand. Okay. How many here for the very first time? First UFO lecture? Okay. Okay. The Andromedans represent a group called the Andromedan Council. There's made up of 139
First hair comment 20 seconds in. That's a record.
planetary systems. It is like a galactic United Nations, but it's only one of several that exist in our galaxy. There is a political hierarchy. Even in the spiritual realms, there's a hierarchy. Even when dealing with the negative extraterrestrials, there's a hierarchy. So politics, unfortunately, doesn't end here on Earth. It actually extends out there. However, even the negatives seem to be a hell of a lot more responsible than the elected officials we have on our planet today. Okay, they're here because we have serious problems. The planet itself has serious problems. According to the Andromedans, with the destruction of the ozone, with the near death of the oceans, as of right now, we have approximately 40 years worth of oxygen left in our atmosphere. 3,500 years ago, the oxygen content on our planet was 35%. Oxygen being a gas. Because of industrialization, pollution, we are right now at less than 18%. And if any of you have taken a physics class, anatomy class, then you know, or you remember, biology class, that the human species needs at least 15% oxygen in order to survive on the surface. Here's where we are right now. And half the pollutants have not reached the ozone layer yet. That's number one. Okay? Now, everything here can change, but it starts right there. Number two, what we've got is we have a very strong extraterrestrial presence, even though most of the people are aware of it. For example, our moon. The moon was brought here 12,000 years ago. Our moon is, in fact, an artificial satellite. It is not a real planet. It can literally leave our orbit underneath its own power.
Now we're talking. Yep, now we're talking.
According to the Andromedans, it was brought here from Ursa Minor.
Yes, this video is about mid-90s. If I'm going to guess a year, I'm going to say 1994. But it's around that time.
A star system called Chauta that had 21 planets in it. It belonged to the 17th planet and it was one of 4 moons. Now, there are ruins all over it. The map is there. There are some pictures there. There's a lot more, which I don't have today. But it will be coming out. This is why the Apollo astronauts stopped going back. It's because there was somebody already there and they were told not to go back. This information is out there. Okay, our moon is 9.1 billion years old.
Martin has gifted a membership. Martin, you absolute legend. I appreciate you very much. And Arctic is our latest little freak that's just joined the pack. Welcome, Arctic. Let's get... Arctic, not Arctic. My apologies. Let's get some love in the chat. And also, Richo, welcome back, sir. A returning member. Thank you very much. I appreciate the support.
9.1 billion years old. It is, in fact, older than the Earth. Okay, it is many of the materials that have been found on the moon, minerals, don't exist on our planet. The moon did not belong to part of the Earth. It was brought here, literally. Our solar system has 8 artificial moons in it that were brought here. And literally, underneath our own power, leave our solar system. And there are beings living on it. Now, the upper echelon of the world government know this. They've known it for a very long time.
What I love as well is, like, you know, the stuff this guy's saying, like, you know, some of it is the same sort of stuff we hear today. And he's like, whether you believe him or not or whatever, you know, like, I respect the fact that he's just like laying it out, like, with zero fucks given. He's just saying it how he believes it. And I respect that. James King celebrating 2 months as a member, 1994 disclosure, just around the corner, 2025. Yeah, rip. But I think you guys will find this interesting though. There's a lot of bombs in here for sure, especially when we consider the time. And Toxic Fart with $5. He used the hair in the front to grow the mullet in the back. Yeah, something went a little bit wrong there. He claims to be an Andromedan contactee, but I think maybe what actually happened is, like my hairline, it got abducted.
But they didn't want us to know because of the element of power. And we'll discuss that.
I mean, he's got the mullet though. Look at that. Look at that. I mean, the man's styling. Like, I literally am on my way to look like this in potentially 10 years.
Now, Earth has been colonized off and on for many hundreds of millions of years. The first race to actually chart our planet was a group from Alpha Draconis. They are reptilian beings. They're anywhere from 7 feet to 22 feet tall and can weigh up to 1,800 pounds.
He's one of us because he's got a receding hairline. Absolutely. I think he was a Top Gun pilot in the Air Force One.
And they don't like human beings. Not here, not anywhere. They were the very first to chart it. They were also the very first to actually have a small colony here 809 million years ago. Now, one of the very first colonies or places that was colonized on the planet is North America, what we now call the United States. There are approximately, today, 1,833 of these reptilians still existing inside the planet. They have lived here for thousands of years. They live thousands of years. Their bodies are not like ours.
Just pointing out, this is pre-Lacerta files. Pre-Lacerta files. So for those of you who are familiar with the Lacerta files, you know, just remember that.
They live anywhere from 100 to 200 miles beneath the surface. This is where they are. And it's all over. The planet is honeycombed with tunnels and caverns. There are approximately 18,000 what we know as grays between here and our moon, from underneath the surface of the planet and the moon. Now, the grays. The grays originally came from Zeta Reticuli 2, giving you the Andromedan perspective. I'm not here to challenge anybody else's information. I'm here to tell you their perspective. The grays came from Zeta Reticuli 2. They lived there 892,000 years ago.
Lucas says, I know his voice so well purely from the Polarity intro. Yeah, when we get to that bit, when he says the quotes, it's going to be good.
They got trapped in a war called the Orion War, which lasted 600,000 years. It was a galactic war between reptilian forces and human beings.
I love listening to this shit, by the way. Like, It's so crazy. So, like, talking about galactic wars between reptilians and humans, like, obviously what we're listening to is so fucking wild that, like, 90% of the population would think we all need to go to a mental hospital. But fuck, it's interesting. I love it. I absolutely love it. Kingsley with $5 says, not even 5 minutes in and I'm laughing. I'm learning and looking at a doggo. Take my money. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate that. I'm glad you're having a good time.
What happened was they were captured by a group in Orion, the constellation of Orion, which is Rigel, Beltrax, Ursa Major, Ursa Minor. They were genetically altered there. Many of the females of their species were killed. So they could not reproduce, so they could control the race. They also genetically altered them so that their sexual organs would become atrophied, and eventually they just wouldn't be there because they weren't being used. Now, the Greys, at the same time this was going on, decided that the emotional part of themselves, of their personality, was their weakest link. So they literally bred or thought out the emotional part of their bodies, of their character.
This is recurring themes, by the way, that our emotions and our empathy is actually our Achilles heel. That it doesn't serve us to progress as a species. It actually holds us back.
Which is why they have no emotion. They're robots. Today, there are approximately...
By the way, I'm not saying I agree with that. I'm just saying that's a theme that we hear a lot.
There are approximately 2,100 actual Greys, actual physical Greys, that have a soul, that are part of the original race, the lineage of the original race, in our solar system. All the rest, virtually every single one that are doing the abductions on people, are clones. They're robots. They don't have an essence. They don't have a soul in them. They're robots.
Rambo says, I disagree. I think it's what helps us to higher enlightenment. Yeah, I agree with you. Like I'm saying, don't necessarily agree with that, but that theme is what we hear a lot. I think Elon Musk has even said things like that like our empathy holds us back as a civilization. But I guess it's in terms of like, what is progress? What is advancing? Like, I feel like that's subjective. To Elon Musk, it's probably being some like full-on technological spacefaring, interplanetary society. Like, it's all about technology. Whereas to someone who's maybe not a fucking lizard, it's probably about just like people being happy, people having enough to live and what they need to get by. You know what I mean? Like, it's completely subjective.
Does everybody follow me so far? Okay.
Yes, sir.
The Greys have a problem. They're dying. This is why they basically are here. Now, we, as a planetary race, offer them a great opportunity to possibly save their race. But it isn't working. And I'll explain why that is.
Jared says, I'd rather have empathy than be a gay vampire. Yeah, I respect that. Yep.
Greys themselves, however, have two agendas, at least two agendas. One is to save their race, and the other is to try to help us evolve. Now, I know how that sounds, but let me explain to you the position that they're in and how it's been related to me. The Greys are controlled by a group in Orion. Now, the Orion group is made up of 9 different races. They are dark. There are some in Orion that are light, but those that are here are dark. They're regressive. They're into control, domination. They do not want us to evolve. And I'll explain why that is, because we hold a polarity of third density. Third density in our spectrum of our universe was an experiment. We are an experiment. But as long as we hold the polarity of third density, they are in control of third density. If we evolve to 4 and to 5 density, there's no longer a third density. Everybody follow me? Everything becomes light, which is what it originally was. It doesn't become this. It becomes light. Even though it is light now. It vibrates at such a low frequency that it's absolute solid matter.
One sec.
There's a lot of us in the universe stuck in third density. We were not supposed to be in this position, in this density, this long. Many have got addicted to third density, to the physicality of it, to the idea of, if you'll pardon my expression, a sexual orgasm in third density, forgetting what it's like to have a spiritual type of an experience, which is similar to it. Now, here's what happened. The Greys are not only doing this in our system, but this is also going on in 23 other systems in our galaxy.
So we're in the ghetto dimension. I mean, I've never been to another one, but I don't know. Can it get much worse? We've got to be in the outer burbs for sure. We are 100% outer burbs. We may not be like the most worst one, but we're like total outskirts. You know, like it's at least an hour train ride into the city. You know what I'm saying?
The same scenario, but it's not quite as bad as it is here. Now, the Greys have been totally controlled by the Orions. Since they're dying, there is literally no chance of them breaking free. In other words, they have nowhere to go. The only chance they have to break free from the Orion group is if we evolve. Because if we evolve, this being the neutral point, this being absolute positivity, this being absolute negativity. We are approximately halfway here.
This is good shit. Listen up.
If we can evolve, it's not a question of just moving this way any longer. Because everything is in balance. Everything is a polarity. No matter how far you go into the dark, when you flip, you go exactly the same place to the light.
Oh, it hits good, doesn't it? I told you it would hit good. It hits so good. But the reason why I love that quote, not just because it says polarity in it, but what he's actually saying there, like, that is legit. And I think that's important for people to understand, especially someone who's maybe in a bad place or a dark place, right? When you are in a negative place, when you can figure out like how to flip it, when you can like figure out how to like flip your perspective and change your mindset, it's not like you then start regressing towards feeling better. It can literally be like a flip. And as like he says, the further you are into that dark state of mind, when you can figure that flip, it's literally like flipping that far into the positive. And I think that's a really powerful thing for people to understand because I believe it's true. 100%. Silent Slam with $2 says, been loving the content, Hober. Keep it up. I think you mean hombre, but if it's not and it is Hober, then thank you. And Jebo1990 with $2 says, good morning, weirdos. Good morning to you, sir. Hope you're doing well. Thank you.
So, if we rotate, if we can evolve, if we make the decision to evolve, we will literally move to this position here.
See?
Literally changing everything in the middle. Just like that. We will have an effect on everything in our galaxy. Everything. Now, there are wars breaking out all over our galaxy.
Mark Vincent says it hits good when you flip onto your tummy. You're a sick man, Mark, and I like it.
Apparently,
UFOs around the world. How are you, sir? Nice to see you here.
Andromedans and Pleiadians, a group from Cirrus, Arcturians, and a group from Tau Ceti, did a study or some kind of a research project. And they decided the quickest way to resolve all of these conflicts was to change the vibration of our solar system. Because our solar system holds the polarity of war.
Where does this guy get his intel? From the Andromedans. And I'm like, that is his answer. So yeah. I'm not laughing because I don't believe him, by the way. It's just like, that's just a funny thing for me to say seriously. But that is what he claims. He's an Andromedan contactee. So, you know, it is what it is.
And that doesn't mean we're at fault. We created those other things because we didn't. But we hold the polarity. So everybody follow that? Everybody's blank. If you don't understand, speak. I'm easy to talk to.
He's saying everyone's blank. Like, I mean, he is saying some, you know, he's dropping bombs. He's speaking about some pretty big concepts for sure. I mean, not to mention the galactic wars between reptilians and whatever. But remember, this is like 1994. Like, I feel like he could say this to most rooms now and people would still look at him the same way. Could you imagine in 1994, people would be like, who is this semi-bald psychopath in this classroom?
Okay, we hold the polarity of war. We war with ourselves, we war with each other, we war with other countries. This doesn't exist on a lot of other planets. We're very unique in that way.
He is alive, yes. He still talks on his YouTube channel. He's much older now, obviously. Maybe not as gripping with his speech anymore. But yeah, he's still around. Alex Collier, check him out.
Okay, I'm going to assume that you all understand. Now, there are 141 Orion group members here as well. There are also 17 extraterrestrials from Sirius B. Now, how many of you are familiar with the Montauk information? Montauk Project?
Ooh, here we go.
Time travel, front and back. Okay. According to the Andromedans,
this is Stranger Things, right? Montauk Project?
that technology was given to our government by the Syrians. Not Sirius A, Sirius B. Just because they fly around in these really awesome spaceships doesn't mean that they come from an unconditional love space.
Perfect Harmony says, I love the Montauk Project. Mildly concerning. Hopefully you mean that you're very interested in it. I mean, maybe you had a really good time at the Montauk Project. Tell us about it. How did that go?
You will all be awed by the technology. Do not be awed by the beings that are flying it. Do not. They're absolutely no better than you. They're just not. Because as souls, we're all created at the same time. We're just on different levels on an evolutionary scale in the physical. But on a soul level, we're all the same.
He's dropping
And
bombs
that's
right now.
important, please, because in the next 5 years, you're going to have absolute proof.
Just a little highlight over what he said there. He's basically saying, like, do not be seduced by technology. Because that's what they're going to try and do.
Any questions so far?
How does our government line up with each one of these groups?
Excellent question. Okay. Our government. Well, let me start with World War II. Actually, we'll start in the 1930s.
The worldwide government.
Okay, the world government. Okay, there is a world government. It controls all of our lives through the media, militarily, and of course, the big thing, money. Because they've got us all believing we have to have money to survive.
Who are those people, you reckon, chat? Who are the people who control the banks and the media and basically the entire world?
Okay?
Who do you guys think that is?
And that's a belief system. You gotta have money to survive. It's a belief system. But we're all there. We're all in it. We're all participating in that belief system. Okay, you've got essentially the Draconians. I'll just put Drax for short. believe that this planet and this solar system belongs to them because they were the first to chart it.
Clint says Daryl Braithwaite. I think you could be onto something there, sir.
They also believe that because they were the first to chart our planet, that they own the planet and everything else on it, which right now is us. Underneath them is the Orions. They do the dirty work for the Dracs. There is a hierarchy. Just like in any government, there's a hierarchy. Even the dark forces are organized in a hierarchy, in a hierarchical government. Underneath them are many different groups, but we'll deal specifically with the Greys because that's what we're dealing with. The Greys were the first to make contact with our government.
Okay.
Our government. However, the Greys in 1931 also made contact, before they made contact with our government, with the Germans, with the Nazis. But the Germans told them, go away. We're already in contact with extraterrestrials.
Oh, now we're up to the dirty talk. Let's go.
And those extraterrestrials were the Giza intelligence. Does everybody know who they are? They were a renegade group of Pleiadians who believed in the Aryan philosophy, of which that's most of our lineage is. The white race being superior to all the others. Okay, that's where that was born out of. Okay, extraterrestrial. That's where it came from. Everything we virtually know about ourselves, we've been taught. We copied the gods, the mythological gods, the gods of Egypt, the gods of Sumeria, the gods of Babylon, the gods of Atlantis. We just emulated them. We're great copiers, and we saw how they treated each other and how they treated us, and we've just emulated it and passed it on, legacy after legacy. So we just continue to pass it on. Now,
Perfect Harmony says, I feel like the Vatican definitely has something to do with it. Absolutely. Absolutely, the Vatican has something to do with all of this. 100%. I mean, let's not forget that there are these weird orbs within orbs sitting out the front of... sitting out the front of the Vatican, and I think it's the United Nations building in New York. There's a giant Egyptian obelisk out the front of the Vatican, which is also at the front of the Capitol building in the United States of America. Like, there is so many weird symbolic connections. Yep, the Knights Templar. Like, this stuff goes back so far. This stuff goes back so far, and like we always talk about with, like, you know, esoteric practices, occultism, it goes back so far, but it's been reskinned so many times with, like, a different sort of take on it, with a different name and a new coat of paint. But, like, underneath that paint and behind that name, you will find the same sort of stories that go all the way back to, like, the ancient Greeks, the Egyptians. Like, this is, like, the same shit just over and over. Obelisks are weird, full stop. Well, James, obelisks literally represent, like, the male reproductive organ. Like, that's what they're symbolic of. So, yeah. The biggest nation in the world has a giant dick out the front of their most important building. That's kind of strange. UFOs around the world says, play the latest Kai Dickens short. Not on this stream, sir, but I will check it out if you flick it to me. Thank you very much. Richo Cochran says, I'm leaning towards the Reptilians. Yeah, it's the likely suspect. And Kingsley with $2 says, Alex is dropping solid knowledge. He really is. Like I said, he, you know, whether you want to believe the whole Andromedan stuff, whatever, just put that aside, I think. What he's actually saying, I think, is important to listen to.
Now we're at a point where we're either going to destroy ourselves or we're going to evolve. We've literally put ourselves right here in the corner. Literally, as a planetary race. Okay, now, the Pleiadians, to their credit, got rid of Giza intelligence. But they were not in a position to get rid of the Greys. And the reason they were not in a position to get rid of the Greys is because a group within our government signed the treaty.
Here
So
we
the
go.
researchers who did this, who have come up with this information, are to be congratulated for the research that they've done. Okay? Much of this information I've been able to collaborate and say, yes, they said, yes, it's true, or no, it's not, it's this information. Okay? And I help to fill in the gaps, but I don't have all the answers either. Now, everybody follow me to this point. Okay. The Roswell crash did in fact occur. Wasn't the only one. There have been many all over North America and Canada. A lot of them you haven't heard anything about. Now, when World War II was over, many of those that were involved in the spy network, the intelligence network of Germany, including their scientists, were brought to the United States. Many went to Russia. Those that were brought here had information and had dealings with Giza intelligence. So they had a familiarity with the extraterrestrial phenomenon. Now, first, there was the OSS. Then the OSS became the CIA. Then Truman created the NSA, National Security Agency. How many of you don't know what that is? I'm not talking about the National Security Council. I'm talking about the National Security Agency.
It's crazy how people didn't know what this is in the 90s. I mean, some people would have, but in this room, people are like
I'm going to
kind of
assume that you
blanking.
will know. The NSA is exempt from all laws in the United States unless it is specifically mentioned in the law.
Ah, look who features. Who we looked at last week, William Cooper. And I guess this video is perhaps edited together after this speech, obviously, because it's referencing his death in 2001. But this speech is absolutely from mid-90s, 100%. And the Bill Cooper speech that we looked at was 1992.
Bill Cooper talks about this as well. It's a reality. It's a reality. You pay the bills, but you have no say about anything that they do. None whatsoever. This group right here is your secret government.
Yep.
Clinton is a general. He's a puppet. He's a puppet. He does what he's told. When they say jump, he says how high.
And so, again, this is obviously when Clinton was president, so early 90s, I believe, or around that time anyway. But why that's interesting is because also, about a week or so ago, we looked at the Paul Hellyer lost interview from 2008, and I have a clip that I've showed in a separate video on the channel of Paul Hellyer saying that he directly asked Clinton or something like that. I can't remember exactly. And Bill Clinton straight up turned around and said, there is I don't have the final say. There is a government within the government and I don't have access to it. And that's from Paul Hellyer, who was Minister of Defense for Canada in the 60s.
Literally. Because they are in contact with the extraterrestrials, they have the technology, and they have the clout. Because when you take the NSA, which has all this extraterrestrial technology and information, and you couple it with the world bankers, you got a tyranny. You got a tyranny. And that's basically where we're almost at.
That's where we are
In
at.
fact, we've been living under it for some time. They just haven't been real blatant about it.
And still are. Sir Broski says, would love to know what BlackRock is hiding. Absolutely, sir. Thank you for the $2.
All right. Now, in the NSA, there are four top secret levels. There's the black monks. This group here is the priesthood. Remember the legends of Samaria and Egypt? There was the gods, then there was the priesthoods. The priesthoods went into the masses and made sure that whatever the gods wanted was fulfilled. It was done. They carried out the format, program, whatever it was. Okay? That's what the black monks are.
Who's saying there's a group inside the NSA called the Black Monks?
It's the new priesthood. Then you've got the Blue Moon Unit. The Blue Moon Unit is who controls 3 military bases on the moon. They were also the same group that established the 2 colonies on Mars, which are called Adam and Eve. All of that's on Mars went there from the moon. And I'll describe how it all happened. Then you've got Ultra, 1 unit.
What's going on, Joel? Welcome, sir. Thank you for being here. What's interesting as well about this, like he's talking about moon bases and shit like that, and obviously that's wild, but let's not forget the Haim Eshed quote, he said it in 2020, Brigadier General, head of Israeli Space Force for 30 years, said that we have bases on the moon and Mars. Like, it's just, I'm not saying that means it's true, but like someone in that position to be saying that, like if it's like, it's either true and that's why someone in that position would say that, or it's equally as crazy if someone who was the head of Israel's space program for 30 years and a brigadier general in their army to say that and be lying. That's also very hectic. And like, why are you saying that? Why did you say that in 2020 and never say a word since?
Then you have Ultra 2. Now, according to the Andromedans, what many people in the UFO circle believe is MK12, being the secret government, it is in fact, according to the Andromedans, Ultra 2. It's the lowest rung of the ladder. And if any of you have ever been in the military, this is the way they do things. I myself have not. But I've researched it enough to know that the way it appears isn't what it is. And then you got the rest of us, what we call our government. Washington, D.C.
Pleb government.
And the military, etc. On and on and on. Now, free energy devices, all of this technology has been in existence over 60 years. We literally have not had to pump a gallon of oil, a barrel of oil out of the ground in 60 years. Technology's been available. It's all being used on the moon, and it was being used on Mars.
Remember, that's what Werner von Braun said to Carol Rosen as well in her testimony at the 2001 press conference. Other than her saying, there's going to be a fake alien threat coming soon, 3i Atlas. But she also said that Werner von Braun told her that we have had the technology for, cars to run on like a maglev system, essentially, so there'd be no pollution. Cars would the roads would be built in a way that the cars could just travel along them with some kind of like magnetic force. And that's basically what Alex is saying here as well. Advanced Flyer with $2 says, great show, Josh. Wishing you continued success. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate that.
We don't have it here at all. Now they're starting to come out with it because, the atmosphere is screwed. All right. Any questions on this so far? I'm giving you a real quick, right to the point, right to the bone synopsis here.
Welcome, Amy.
Latest question. What time is it? Okay, well.
And the overall picture of it, what are the various groups jockeying for position for? What are they trying to gain out of it? Obviously, they have a goal.
Good question.
They all have different agendas. I don't know specifically outside of control and domination and the fact that they would like to keep the third density vibration on a universal scale from evolving, what the Orions and the Draconians want. I can tell you about the Greys, though. Okay. Now, and even the benevolent forces. And that's where we come in. Why so much attention to planet Earth? Why us? We're this little speck on the outskirts of the galaxy. Just this little solar system. Well, Galactic And intergalactic travel has existed in our universe for 4.4 billion years. Now I'm dealing with linear time, because that's the only way I know how to put it. Many of the extraterrestrial groups that were leaving from their respective star systems, when they would pass through our sector of our galaxy, they would always stop here on Earth. Why? It's beautiful. It's got an abundance of water, which is very rare in our galaxy. It has vegetation and life forms, unlike most other places. And not only that, it was far enough away that they could literally do anything they wanted, and nobody would say anything. It was like a retreat. And they would fly through here, stay 50 years, which is, if you live a lifespan of several thousand years, it's just a week.
Anko says, you have the wrong original interview link in the description. Please correct it. I want to watch it later on without breaks. Sorry, sir. I'll end the stream now and I'll fix it for you, sir. My apologies, sir. Sorry. John Anthony with $20. Morning, Josh and my fellow weirdos. This is so far out, it's in. I think Alex and Linda Moulton Howe could speak for days. I 100% agree that this is so far out that it's in. Because it's weird, isn't it? Right? Like these people, why don't these people get pulled into Congress? Why don't people want to hear from these people? We only want to hear from like military leaks from the exact same organization that have been covering it up the whole time. Like, I'm not saying everything that comes out of the military and government is fake, but it might be. But also, like, I just feel like and I'm not saying everything Alex Collier is saying is truth either, but I think we owe it to ourselves to like broaden our perspective and not just listen to people who come from the same companies that have been lying to us, because it's not like they've admitted it yet. If they'd come out and said, oh, yep, sorry guys, look, we did cover this thing up. This is why we did it. My apologies. Yep, my bad. Then I would be more inclined to be like, okay, let's see what they've got to say. But if you're just going to keep saying stuff and not admit the lies that are obviously very blatant, like, I just don't know if I want to listen to you that much. You know what I'm saying? I think that's why I like to broaden my scope here. Parachute Pants with $10 says, finally caught alive. Love the channel, Josh. Keep up the amazing content. Thank you very much, sir. And I'm glad you're here making a live. I appreciate that a lot. All right, now that is the end of the stream because I have to go fix the link for someone here in the chat. No, I'm kidding. Bill Tompkins says we're in the edge of the galaxy and we'll eventually drop off, but that's not what we're told. Reality is a Psy-Op. Reality is indeed a Psy-Op, Brit, and you can get that on a t-shirt from the Polarity merch store, by the way. And speaking of Bill Tompkins, we have actually covered his Project Camelot video on the channel, so make sure you check that out if you're interested.
You know, even though it's 50 years to us, it's almost a lifetime. And they would just play God. Genetically alter this, genetically alter that. They would pick up other life forms as they were exploring. They would drop them off and see if they would evolve here, if they could exist. They tinkered. They did all kinds of things. Now, ETs don't value gold and silver or diamonds. They're not into that. What they're into are genetics. That's their valuables. Life forms.
This part is fire. What he says here is very interesting and makes a lot of sense. I'll try my best not to interrupt it.
And we're now moving in that direction ourselves, our scientists. Okay. Well, what's happened is, according to the Andromedans, us, Terrans, Earth human beings, the physical forms that we now have ourselves, is a direct result of the genetic manipulation of at least 22 different races, extraterrestrial races, who tinkered with us. This is why we have approximately 22 different body types on the planet. Now, what I'm talking about body types, different physical and genetic and chemical structural makeups on the planet. There are 22. This is why we have so many different races that have different physical features. Now, because of this manipulation, what's happened is that we, as a planetary race, have become this, like Heinz 57. We have inside of us the genetic as well as racial memories of at least 22 different extraterrestrial races. Which means that we can physically bond or give birth or create with almost any specific species out there, with exception of the greys. Well, actually, to some degree, we can with the greys, and the insectoid races. We can't mate with them. But we can with almost any other form, including reptilian. Just a few alterations in our DNA, and it's done. We're the only ones. Now, this is also the only planet in our galaxy where you have so many different races together. Now, what's happened, and I'll give the example of Andromeda. The Andromedans are a human race, but they have been so pure, so clean in their DNA, in their genetic melding with the same race, that they are now starting to see signs of genetic breakup. In other words,
So they were inbreds. So they inbred for so long that now they're kind of like, oh, I think we're cooking ourselves. Isn't that basically like what the elites are doing? That's what the Baal worshippers do. They are obsessed with their own bloodline, so they just breed with each other. Hopefully they degenerate pretty soon. That would be great if you could do that. Thank you.
the line is starting to show some genetic weakness. The Pleiadians will experience this in 1,000,000 years. They will start to see it. The Greys are already experiencing it. And there are other races as well, primarily human races, where this is happening, where the genetic material is starting to break down because of so much interbreeding within the same race, the same family. Follow me so far? There's only one race that can add this genetic boost, the new genetic material, to help them, and it's us. But they can't use our DNA, they can't use our physical structures because of our consciousness. We vibrate at such a low level. They can't use it. Plus, they just can't come down here and steal it like the Greys did, because it's a violation of free will.
That haircut is alien tech. Yeah, Hugh, I think this was actually recovered and reverse engineered from Roswell.
Which is the number one law. Do not violate free will. Number two, do not interfere or intervene with an evolving race unless you are asked. Of course, we have been. We have been for the last 5,000 years. Majorly manipulated as a planetary race. So,
I mean, every time he turns to the left, though, I'm just admiring that mullet. Like, that is quite impressive. That is a neck warmer if I've ever seen one. Lauren Pegg with £2. Thank you very much, Lauren. I appreciate you.
this is why there's so much attention here. Now, the negatives, the negative forces, and I include the world government in this,
absolutely
are doing everything they
government.
can to keep us down, keep us negative, to keep us divided, warring with each other, all of them. They're doing an excellent job. The benevolent ones, however, want us to come together as a race. They want us to move into an unconditional love or an unconditional responsibility space. But they have to do it in such a way that we think it's our idea, because they can't violate our free will. So everybody follow that so far? So it's a hell of a situation. It's really complicated. I wish I could say it's black and white, and there it is, but it isn't. It's a very complicated thing.
He's dropping bombs right now. He's dropping bombs.
Now, because of the gray intervention, and because our government, basically the secret government, sold us out, it has forced all of us to evolve now, instead of on a planetary level, on an individual level. Where each one of us has to go inside, and we have to look at ourselves and say, who the hell am I? What am I doing with my life?
Yeah. Can we all just ask ourselves that for a moment? Like, what are you actually doing with your life? No, I'm kidding. But this really is like looking into the future, right? It's like we're using that AI that Matthew Brown talked about in the government, and this is me in like I don't know, probably 10 years at this rate with that hairline. And mullet's still going strong though, and you know, by now the channel's like quite washed up. There's like 7 of you left, just still clinging on. And this is me just still ranting about the same shit to the last 7 of you, whoever's willing to listen. And my hairline continues to be abducted by the Greys daily.
Is this really what I want to do? Am I really happy with all this? And these are tough questions. Any questions so far? Okay, now, the Andromedans look at the fact that we are the sum total of 22 extraterrestrial races. They also look at the idea that we are spirit, essence. They literally look at us as being royalty, because we're the only ones like this. They think we are royalty. And every time I say that, I get chills. Isn't that awesome? That's the best kept secret on the planet. We're royalty. We don't act like it, but we are. Now, how unique are we? Okay, we're royalty. We live on a planet that's dying, and yet our race continues to propagate. We continue to populate.
Britt says she wants to do lines with him. That would be the best. Yep, you guys really are freaks. I'm proud to be a leader.
They're like in awe. The Pleiadians can't come down here and live here. The Andromedans can't. The Draconians and the Reptilians can only live underground. They can't live on the surface because it's so polluted. And yet here we are, part of the same human family, and we just continue to move on. We're so strong. It's amazing.
Yes.
When you look at that and you look at our extremes in emotion, positive to negative, happy to depression, love to sadness, when you look at the extremes, we're again, this is where we're unique, we're the only ones that have this extreme swing in emotions. Now, our emotions is our biggest strength. Because when you pray or you meditate and you want to create something in your life, it's one thing to picture it.
Hugh Janus says, he just says stuff. Well, Hugh Janus, I feel like this may be a case that you're just hearing things that you don't understand and you think that means they don't make sense. But actually, Hugh Janus, I think maybe you're just struggling to keep up.
But the real secret is when you put emotion behind it, you create it. You literally create. Emotion is what puts it into swing. Emotion is what attracts it to you. Now, planet's very negative. The consciousness is very negative. If we were to change that overnight, the planet would change. This is our strength, but we got to stop using it against each other. Because the bottom line is, all we have is each other. You know, your checking account, your American Express card is not going to get you to Mars. It's not going to get you on a mothership.
Dropping bombs.
You know, all we have is each other.
Yep. Stop being a dickhead. Quite easy.
If you don't have another home, Ashtar is not coming to save you. It isn't going to happen. So don't pack your bags. Okay. Any questions? Yeah.
Jared with $2 says the glint of my receding hair will be here too. I'm glad. I know there'll be a few of you. Yep. It'll be like 10 of us left in this classroom. We'll all be old, receding, and definitely mental health patients.
Is there a concern as such that our destiny, one way or the other, in the end, wouldn't really be of much concern to them? Or is that just the opposite? They're very concerned about what would happen to humans?
They're very concerned with what happened to us because we're unique. We are part of everything. Okay? We literally are connected to 22 different races. We literally we can offer them a genetic pool that they need, that they can't get anywhere else. There's also the fact that in the process, if we were to destroy ourselves, we would destroy the planet. There's also a possibility the planet itself could self-destruct. I mean, literally just blow itself apart because of the negativity. Now, let's look at that concept. Okay?
Daniel says, I need a megalithic brick of yay. There's a big obelisk you could try and smoke out the front of the Capitol building.
It's the Earth. If the Earth explodes, what happens to the other planets in our solar system? Their rotations will change around the sun. Okay? Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, they will all start to move in because the gravitational pull is set up like a mechanism. If it's not there, they will literally change their orbit. Okay, our solar system could completely implode or implode maybe several 100 million miles. Now the slack has to be picked up someplace else. Now our solar system is gravitationally connected to the dog star, to Sirius A. Sirius A evolves around Alcyon. So the whole galaxy moves like a Swiss watch. And our galaxy is continuously moving throughout the universe. Well, if it implodes, if our solar system implodes, somewhere down the line, someplace, another solar system is going to have to move and adjust its course, its track, its rotation to fill in the slack. Does everybody follow that? And we will be responsible for not only destroying ourselves and our planet, but possibly killing billions and billions of other life forms we don't even know exist. And they're not about to let us do that without taking some kind of an action. But they truly believe that we can change this.
Britt says, this is what I sound like to my husband every day when I told him about the Khazarian Mafia last night and the way that he looked at me. Britt, don't give up. Don't give up. You're doing God's work. Keep going.
Yes.
Is it true that Planet X, Zachariah Stitching talks about the 12th planet is coming into our solar system? And I've heard I've been to several UFO conferences. People have spoken about that.
Is there a 12th planet?
Is it,
Yes, there is. In fact, there's a 13th as well, according to the Andromedans. There's one that's fairly behind that.
Is that going to affect the Earth at all?
A couple hundred years from now.
Oh, I see.
250 years, I think, to be exact, a little bit longer.
Just like, I don't know how he pulled that out. A couple of 100 years. 250 to be exact. Just quickly ran the numbers of the, multiple galaxies and constellations in my head. Yep, 250. Yep, that's correct. Yep, just did the calculations.
I wouldn't worry about it.
Wouldn't worry about it. Don't worry.
Yes.
We can start out, you said to understand that within, I think you said the end of this year, the next year, there'll be dramatic changes. Can you kind of be more specific in those changes?
Sure.
Yeah, he definitely
hear
did
the
get
question?
a download.
Okay, about changes?
He just had gigabit connection to the Andromedans and just got that calculation instantly. She's flirting. I would be too with that
According to the
hairline
Andromedans,
and that mullet. I'd be flirting.
I'm going to deal with planetary things. There is a possibility that sometime by the end of May, a part of Japan will sink. It will not
This
be
month.
this May. It will not be an accident. It will be created by the world government because the Japanese will not move into the world banking government because in order to do that, they have to sell out their people. And they're not going to do it. They've refused to so far to do it.
That's very interesting. I'm pretty sure he just said this May, but obviously there's that massive tsunami that happened. Yes, Brit, in 2011 in Japan. Very interesting.
Interested in that. Okay. They've also said, and this was a year and a half ago, that by the end of this May, Bill Clinton will have to resign. He would not finish his presidency. They have not said anything to the effect to alter that. But the way things are looking, I don't think that that's going to happen by the end of May. Maybe September.
It's weird how like Japan are sort of like, you know, in their own lane, I guess. Like they're obviously allies of the West, but they sort of like, they're just different over there in a good way. Like over there, like I feel like over there they can be like, yes, I'm Japanese. I'm proud of being Japanese. And everyone's like, woohoo. Whereas like here, if I'm like, I'm proud of being Australian, everyone's like, you're a fucking racist. Like, yeah, I'm just celebrating that I'm Australian and white. You fucking pig. You can't be proud of being white here.
It'll happen. Because of stuff that went on in Arkansas, Mena, and all that. But that's a whole other situation.
Is he not cooperating probably or what?
Who? Clinton?
Yeah.
No, it involves, well,
Looks like a willing slave.
I don't know exactly what that end of it is, but I know that the lawsuit that's probably going to bring him down involves the guy who wrote the book Compromised. Terry Reid, I think his name is. And in fact, this lawsuit literally reopens the Iran Contra affair. Because they have video footage apparently, of Bill Clinton and Oliver North standing next to an airplane as they're unloading cocaine.
Oh, CIA.
And also in this book, it makes reference to the fact that
CIA is got to be the biggest drug cartel in the world, right?
the IRS has been able to track anywhere between $30 to $50 million to the Cayman Islands, to a bank account in the Cayman Islands that belongs to Bill and Hillary. Anyway, there's a lot, but I don't want to get focused. There's a lot. He makes first was to make Boy Scout, which is very hard to do. Okay, as far as our country, some of the things that they have said that are going to occur absolutely by 1996.
I have heard if you say Iran Contra in the mirror 3 times that Danny Sheehan may just spawn behind you. I can't confirm it, but I have heard.
Is expected change in the currency. They've already said it. This October of this year, which is our government's fiscal year, 1995, $2.3 trillion of our national debt is due in payment. We don't have it. It's real simple. We don't have it. The reason we don't have it is because we don't print our own currency. And every year we have to borrow more money to run the government. Does everybody follow that? Okay. This is why the dollar's dropping. It's change. It's time for change. And it's a good thing because any corrupt system does eventually collapse on itself.
Catherine Fitz is great at explaining what happened with the money. Yeah, she's done some great podcasts. She's a great listen. I think her one with Tucker Carlson was really good. Also, she was pretty good on Danny Jones as well. I enjoyed both of those.
There's also a possibility that by the end of the year, and it could be triggered by this financial crisis, that the President of the United States, whether it's Gore or whoever it's going to be, will declare a state of emergency. Now, how many of you are familiar with Executive Order 11490, signed by Richard Nixon in 1972? Okay, it was a list of 23 executive orders which essentially say that in a declared national emergency, they can suspend the Constitution up to 5 years, and they send Congress home for 6 months.
Wow.
Okay? The scary thing is it doesn't necessarily state in the law, the executive order, what the national emergency has to be. All he has to do is declare it. And they've also divided. Now, Jimmy Carter took that executive order, and that in turn, when he signed that, he gave all regulatory power under these executive orders to FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Act. FEMA then created a program, which is now law, which was signed by George Bush, separating the United States into 10 federal regions. So the plan possibly is to suspend the Constitution and then to split the states up into federal regions so that we can all come back together, and the United States of America, as we know, will cease to exist unless the people rebel and take it back.
So to sum up what he basically said there in a much simpler way, a couple of presidents basically turned the American people into a cuck. Yep. And now the NSA is the real daddy, and there's nothing the cucks can do about it. That's basically the summation of what he just said. Unfortunately.
Yes. Yes. I think they've grossly underestimated the people. Now, in 1992, Bill Clinton signed another executive order recognizing the UN Charter as the law of the land. Technically, we no longer have the Constitution as the abiding law of the land. In 1992, it became the United Nations Charter.
Yoshi says, but my guns? Yeah, look, obviously in Australia, we don't have guns. So for me, it's kind of like wild. But you guys should never give up your guns. Like, seriously, do not do that. I know you guys don't want to, but like, that really is like all you got. Once, if you guys get your guns taken off you, which I can't really imagine ever happening because it would just be impossible. But like, that is all you got, for real.
Which is why the United Nations is sending our troops and dictating where our military troops go.
If it's happening in the US, it's happening in Australia. Oh, dude, 100%. That's why I find it so funny. Sometimes I get some absolute like low IQ retards commenting like, why are you talking about America? You're in Australia. Why does it concern you? Like, bro, if you don't know that, then I can't even bother explaining it to you.
It's because of this action. So there's a lot going on. And all of this is being manipulated by the extraterrestrials. They want to take control. They want to implant everyone. Because if they implant you, it's a sign of ownership. It's a stamp of ownership. The implant is. The other races don't have implants. You know, the government's trying to feed people the fact that we have to blend with the grays in order to move into a higher dimension, to evolve. I've even heard this in UFO circles. It's absolutely ludicrous. All the other human races are doing it without becoming part of an alien race unplanned. Now, are there any more questions on this before I change the subject? Yes, sir.
Planet Earth there, when was that brought into existence?
Planet Earth? Yeah. Planet Earth is 7.1 billion years old. According to them. That's when it became a physical mass. Okay? It actually started, about 640 billion years ago with a gas, starting to form as gas in particles. And it took this amount of time before it became physical mass.
Was this designed this way, or just random? Or
it happened randomly, but a lot of the genetic life forms, plant life, sea life, human life, primate life, a lot of that was brought here. It was also brought to Mars. Apparently Mars and Earth were almost identical 70 million years ago.
Port Arthur was a Psy-Op. It's interesting, isn't it, Bradley? For anyone who doesn't know, Port Arthur was basically like this, was a massacre that took place in Australia that was basically led to the, like, that's why we don't have guns in Australia anymore. And, at the time, everyone's like, oh, crazy man with a gun, tragedy, yes, give the guns up. But it's funny now to look back on it when we, now that we can see very clear that they do this whole like problem reaction solution process whenever they want things to be a certain way, rather than just try and force you to do something you don't want to do, they make you so scared and so anxious that the only best solution would be to do whatever the fuck they want, i.e. you not have guns. So it's interesting now that, you know, people are starting to wake up to the fact that, you know, life is pretty controlled and manipulated far more than we realize. It's like, well, how long has this been happening for? How many things in our history have been actually a result of this problem reaction solution process rather than just crazy man goes crazy randomly with a gun? It's starting to seem like that's actually not a very likely solution. I mean, I'm sure it happens, but I think it's far more likely that the government does shady shit to push through and do whatever the hell they want.
But Mars went through a huge catastrophe 69 million years ago, and even went through another war 1 million years ago. The ruins on Mars and all that, they're some of them are 65, 70, 80, 100 million years old. The space and all that is at least 1 million years old. Now, according to the Andromedans, the face belongs to a group of Orions. That complex.
Wow, I did not know that the face on Mars was known about this early as the mid-90s. That's really interesting. I thought this was like a, you know, in the last 10 years kind of thing.
Was built by Orions. The pyramids were built by Orions. Now, I understand that there's all kinds of coding and geometrics that go with the pyramids, but according to the Andromedans, and this is something they've done in the past and many other races do, when they find a planet that they want to inhabit it or colonize, and its wobble is so irregular that they can't build anything on it because they don't know 1,000 years to the next whether or not it's going to be destroyed, what they will do to balance the rotation, the orbit of the planet, is put weights on it, like we do with our car tire. These weights are the pyramids. They put them at strategic locations to balance the rotation. This is why the Great Pyramid of Giza is located exactly dead center of all the mass, Earth mass on the planet. It's a
Interesting.
weight.
It's interesting. It's certainly a weight, that's for sure.
That's what it was originally designed to be, was a weight to balance our rotation. So they would have some semblance of order here.
Isn't it, does Jason Giorgiani talk about this as well? I reckon Giorgiani says the same thing. Uluru, that's definitely a weight. Yeah, that's definitely a weight. Guys, if you're enjoying this stream so far as well, by the way, please just click a like on the video. It's very quick, very easy, it's free, and it helps tremendously.
That they wouldn't have to worry about it flipping around, and orbiting, and pole shifting whenever it wanted to. Or wobbling so much like this, you know, that the oceans would just change. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Pyramids on Earth are.
Giorgiani says Satan is the good guy. I don't know about that. I think you might be being extremely vague and indistinct with that statement.
Located in the same part of the hemisphere as the pyramids on Mars.
Yes. Yes, it is. But there are more pyramids on the Earth than there are on Mars. There are a lot in the ocean. You know, Central America.
Right.
We have a lot. Of course, it's, you know, almost 1.5 times the landmass as well. Plus, we have water, which in itself is an incredible amount of weight. I think we have 1.2 trillion square miles of water on the planet, which is phenomenal.
If you guys go on Google Earth and look at the Pacific Ocean, you can get the globe to a certain point where you literally can't see any countries. I mean, if you zoom in, there's obviously like little Pacific islands and Hawaii and shit, but you know what I'm saying. Literally half the Earth is an ocean. It's absolutely wild. James Anthony, $2, says it's hard to type when you're high. My man, you're doing a great job so far. Keep going. I back you. You can do it.
Absolutely phenomenal. It's 2/3 of the Earth, and less than 1% is drinkable. Another question. Somebody asked. Yes, sir.
Can you give us some of your background, how you came into all this information, et cetera, et cetera?
Yes.
Here we go. If anyone didn't hear that question, he said, can you give us some background? How did you come into all this information? So this should be interesting. And by the way, I think I forgot to mention, guys, we're going to be doing a movie night after the stream. So if you guys want to come hang out, we've got about 10 minutes left of the Alex Collier part 1. And then I'm going to run a poll on what movie we're going to be watching after the stream.
I guess it's time for that. My contact started when I was 8 years old. I was on a family picnic in Woodstock, Michigan, which is in the upper northern peninsula. I did not remember the contact until I was at the age of 14. I knew, and my parents knew, that something had happened in the other folks. We went out to play hide and go seek, and the grass was very tall. It was in August. It was like the second or third week of August, just before we all went back to school. And I went to lay down in the tall grass and just to hide. Okay, because we have one of our little cousins who was a female. You know, we made her in, so she had to go around and find us. And I remember picking up the chestnuts and throwing them because they were chestnuts. And I made a place for me to lay down. Well, I fell asleep. When I woke up, it was night. It was close to 9 o'clock. Now in August, you know, the sun sets late. So I got up and I walked back. I'm approximately 250, maybe 300 yards from the picnic area. There was a police car there, there was a dog in the back, or state police, I think it was, state trooper, because the guy had the big round hat with the funny thing on the top. When I got back, at first they were all glad to see me, and then my mother walloped me. She gave me a spanking. Where have you been? I said, well, I was over there. No, you weren't. They were all looking for you. So I took them back with flashlights to where I was, and sure enough, there was my imprint on the grass, and they swore up and down that they had been all through there, and I wasn't there. It wasn't until age 14 that I realized what had happened. And I was asleep. We were living in Elk Grove Village, Illinois. And I was asleep, and I woke up, and I'm lying on a table, flat on my back, and I'm looking up at this light. And there's a very tall, big guy standing next to me, and a short, tiny one. The tiny one had white skin, bald head, looked sort of Oriental, but he wasn't, just very old. And the other guy, the big tall one, was light blue skinned, no hair, but built like a Greek god, like this. I had instantaneous recognition of those two guys, two men. The tall one is Morine. He's 2,300 years old in our time. He's from Andromeda. The short one was Phaseus. Now, they don't use names like we use names, but those are names that they gave me so that I could call them to accommodate me. That's how I relate to them. They use symbols. Phaseus is 4,300 years old. Actually, he's older than, but that's his approximate age. They're incredible. They're absolutely incredible. They're human beings just like us. They evolved. They were part of the Lyran lineage of the human race. And Lyra itself was destroyed in a war. And everybody just scattered and migrated out to survive. And according to them, and this is probably a good time, I want to add this before I forget, they say the Andromedans, based on stories that the ancient Draconians have recorded, that the human race was created by another race called the Batal. They have no idea where the Batals are. The human lineage, we have no recording of this, but the Draconians have legends of this because the Draconians then were warring against the Batal. And the Batal was constantly trying to protect this small band, and based on the description, it's the human race. But nobody knows how many millions or billions of years ago that was. So it started at age 14. I was taken on the ship. I was given a physical that recorded my brain waves, my biorhythms, so that I could be communicated or contacted no matter where I was in our galaxy or wherever they were in the galaxy. I'm always stuck here.
Maggie M, celebrating 1 month as a member. You absolute legend. She says, thanks, Josh. Sending love to all the weirdos. Appreciate you, Maggie. Thank you for the support.
They put me on a brain scanner device. The room that I was in was completely round.
This was when you were 8 or 14?
age 14. There was a table in the middle, that's all that was there. Now, Morane had like a little clicker, like a cable box clicker. You know, you want to change the channel. It was a device similar to that. He would just push a button, and literally on the walls, all of these meters and telemeters and gauges would literally manifest out of nowhere, out of an absolute wall. Suddenly there were gauges and knobs recording everything about my physical body, everything. They put a little cap on my head. It was like a yarmulke, except the top of it was cut out. They put it on my head, and he pointed and he said, look, telepathically. And I looked, and another scanner, like a television, appeared on the wall, and it literally, I started seeing pictures, like clips from movies, just going by. Boom, 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 different scenes. And I kept recognizing the main character in these scenes. It was my entire reincarnational history on the earth, flashing before me. Not the whole life, but scenes of it, of who I was.
Maybe his hair is an antenna. If so, he's got quite the dish. You know, isn't that kind of like, that is kind of like actual law, right? In some religions or societies, that like long hair is, you know, prestigious, and there is something to having long hair. I mean, maybe if we really are containers or vessels that stream in our consciousness, that our body is just like a temporary suit that our consciousness inhabits for this lifetime, maybe hair is a stronger antenna, stronger connection. Maybe something in the fiber of our hair establishes a better connection to source. So you can see, obviously, Alex Collier is losing signal rapidly.
When this was done, they gave me a little cup, and it was like water. He said, drink it. So I drank it, and they turned around and they watched on a meter here. They could see it go all the way down. It looked like water, tasted like water, but on the monitor it was blue. And you could see it go all the way down into my organs.
Hair is spiritual in war, prayer, and healing. There you go.
And every time I go on board, they give me a physical. And it's because of the environment we live in. Now, when this was done, I got up off the table. All the monitors literally disappeared again. Now there's nothing there but wall. They start to walk this way. I get up off the table, I'm standing there. The stage turns around and says, you know, like this, it says follow. So I started to walk with them. I turn around, the table is gone. Now it's not there. So I said, how did you do that? And Morane said, we manipulated third density so you could have a place to lay. And that's when they started to explain to me that everything is a hologram. The universe, you, me, everything is a holographic projection. And what they do is they use extensively holographic technology. And they can literally create anything in third density, because all it is an idea and vibration. And they literally can create it.
How come they can't create a race of beings like us with the genetics that we have that they want preserved so badly?
Because
Good question.
the spirit factor, it can't create spirit. That only comes from one source. That's God. That's the gift. You can create a physical form, but you cannot recreate spirit.
Maybe that's why your spirit or your soul is so important. Maybe that's why it feels like so many things in the world are coming for it, for like lack of a better term. Feels like every you know, almost like every turn or like key decision you make in life is like sort of a determining factor on like an effect that it could have on your spirit or your soul.
And if you create a physical form, Unless it's divinely ordained, you can't put a spirit into it. This is the problem the Greys have. They have created their hybrids, but they can't get a soul to incarnate in it. It's just flesh. That's all it is. And they have to artificially keep it alive because there's no soul in it.
There we go. Part 1 of the Alex Collier stream. Some really interesting takes towards the end there as well, especially when we hear about, the things Bob Lazar and many others have said, that we are just containers and that this is just our bodies are just a host to our consciousness, which is existing well before and will exist well beyond the lifetime of this body. Which makes me wish, like when we think about stuff like that, by the way, I'm going to put up a poll for the movie that we're about to watch in Discord in a moment. But when we think about that concept that, our body is temporary, but our soul and our spirit is perhaps eternal or lives much longer, it makes me think like, I wish we celebrated death rather than mourned it in a way. Like, obviously it's I don't mean celebrate it as in like, woohoo, mum's dead, yay. What I mean is like, celebrate their life. We all are going to die one day. Let's not act like it's not going to happen. We're all going to die one day. So if we know that's going to happen, let's not act all super shocked and surprised when it does. How about we just celebrate the life that we had and the times that we got to share with them? And it could be it could be a positive thing. It's still going to be sad, but it doesn't have to be grief and mourning and like an eternal burden of losing someone. Because if we actually got taught that, who that person is, their soul still exists. And, I'm sure many of you weirdos, because we're all freaks here, have probably watched a lot of near-death experience videos. It's like, I feel like everyone just like, I feel like that's something a lot of people watch, but not many people talk about it. I'm sure many people have watched near-death experience videos. Recurring theme every single time. These people say, where I went was somewhere that felt like I was home. I returned home. I was overcome with like love and happiness and like this feeling of like, oh my gosh, like I totally forgot about this. I forgot this is where I come from. This is so amazing. Like I can't believe I was so worked up about all the silly things in my meat suit that I was living in for that period of time. So like when you have shitloads of people all saying that, why are we still freaking the fuck out about death? Like it actually doesn't seem like it needs to be the worst thing in the world. Yeah, James Anthony says death is going home. And you probably go home temporarily, maybe have a little nap, after a big trip. Who's had a big holiday before? You get home, you have a nap, you sleep in your own bed. It feels so good to sleep in your own bed after a while. Have a bit of a feed, recover, get back to what life used to be like again. And then in like a couple of weeks, you're like, all right, where's my next holiday, bro? I'm out of here. Fuck this. Where am I going next? I think it's the same thing. I think it's exactly the same thing. Christina celebrating 6 months as an absolute freak with your gold trim on the badge. She says, great work, Josh. Finally got my gold trim. Yes, you did. You are, and you deserve it too. An absolute legend of the community. So guys, let's get this poll up. We're going to head into Discord. The link is below if you want to vote on what movie we're going to watch. And I haven't even told you what the options are. We've got 2 options tonight. I've already been to Blockbuster. I've rented them both. They were 2 for $5 for the week. Our options are a couple of classics, actually. We've got The Mummy or Indiana Jones Raiders of the Lost Ark. Now, obviously, as always, I haven't seen either of them because your boy has barely seen anything. But we're changing that slowly, one movie night at a time. So there we go. The Mummy or Raiders of the Lost Ark. You can vote in the chat there. Get them in. What do we got? What do we got? Yeah, we can hang out for a few more minutes. We'll let that run for a little bit. Looking like a pretty heavy favorite right now with Raiders of the Lost Ark, but we'll see. Both classics, but The Mummy, yeah, I haven't seen them. Brendan, it's with Brendan Fraser, right? Because he was always like a bit of a meme. So, you know, I wasn't sure if it was worth watching, but you know, all the sort of like Egyptian esoteric history lore, it definitely has me interested. Where's Mars Attacks? Yes, that is. We need to make. Okay, what we should do in Discord is we should make a channel with just like a movie list. So it's just there for us to slowly tick off one movie at a time. Because I actually do have a list somewhere. It's just not public, but I'll get it in Discord, and that way we can slowly chip away at it over time. So for anyone who doesn't know, no, we're not watching it. It's not on YouTube. You guys have to join Discord, which the link is below. And then I will be live streaming it to you guys, and we can all watch it at the same time. And while we're watching it, we can also chat over text about the movie. Usually, we're just memeing the whole time and talking shit, but it's usually a lot of fun. And for anyone who doesn't know, like if you've never used Discord or maybe you're new, you know, etiquette, manners, all these things are important. You don't want to come flying in the door without, you know, without some manners, reading the room. This is it's a safe space where we can be as weird and as freaky as we want, because that's what it's about. But respect and etiquette is also important, 100%. Mr. Vetted, Mr. VETTED in the chat. How you going, Patrick? Nice to see you here, sir. I think we have a pretty clear winner, guys. I think we have a clear winner. We are going to be watching Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and I am excited. I'm excited. I've never seen a single Indiana Jones movie. Yep. Roast me. I know. It's terrible, isn't it? But I hope you guys enjoyed today's stream. Like I said, that was some Polarity lore. That's where the song is, where it comes from. So that was part 1. We're going to do part 2 this week. Maybe not tomorrow, because we've got some other stuff planned as well. But it'll definitely be coming. I really enjoyed that. So guys, be good. Be kind. Take care. Remember, the SR-71 was built in the 1950s. Don't forget it. And I'll see you soon. I'll see you in Discord. Take care.
Eventually people are going to say, what the hell is going on?
No matter how far you go into the dark, when you flip, you go exactly the same place to the light in our galaxy. Everything. Because everything is in balance. Everything is a polarity.
I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is.